Welcome to the NintenFusion podcast, a podcast that fuses past, present, and future Nintendo thought. I'm David, accompanied by my friend Jordan. Now, Jordan, how are things in the Nintendo world right now?
So, it turns out we actually did have a direct this week, like we were kind of alluding to last week. And that episode came out yesterday. So
it seems that the internet's on fire a little bit.
Yeah, the internet's been on fire. On top of that, so while we were like, oh, there's a very good chance that there will be a direct this week. We also last episode listed a whole bunch of different things that would probably be shown at it, such as like Kid Icarus and Zelda ports and F-Zero and GameCube or whatever. None of that came true.
None of it.
We got literally nothing that we said.
Absolutely nothing.
Last episode, but there was a direct. So I guess by pure happy coincidence, it happened.
Yeah,
I don't think the leaks were real. They just got lucky.
They got lucky that it was happening this week, but everything they knew, in air quotes, you can't see them, was definitely wrong. So I guess that's another L for the leakers this year.
Yeah. However, there was one game that got leaked earlier on in this year. We got leaks back in, I believe, June or maybe May of a new Fire Emblem game. And people were kind of in disbelief that it was going to be real because the character looked so stupid.
Imagine in your mind a woman with long hair where half of the hair on one side is like bright red and the other half is bright blue. We were all in disbelief.
Yeah, so it turns out that was true.
Oh, no.
We're getting Colgate in Smash Brothers eventually.
Of course.
The toothpaste lord.
Except we're missing the white stripe in the hair, I guess. But
yeah, we're missing the one white stripe. That's what you get with the third path.
Yes.
See, here's my prediction. So you have the duality of hair, right? The red hair and the blue hair coming together. And at the end of the game, it's going to force a decision out of you. Do you choose the red path or the blue path? And if you get the DLC, you can choose the purple path.
Where your hair fuses together.
Exactly.
That's why it's called Fire Emblem Engage, right? You're engaging both sides of your hair.
Well, the game's also heavily about rings. You use rings to summon lords from previous games. I think the engage means engagement, as in this is another dating sim Fire Emblem game.
But you can date past Fire Emblem characters.
Oh, no. So, yeah, I feel like this Fire Emblem is going to definitely go the route of fan service-y. A lot of people are referencing this looks like a console version of Heroes.
I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had similar gacha mechanics as Xenoblade 2, where it doesn't cost real money to do the gacha stuff, but to get your units, you have to go through gacha stuff.
Yeah,
right?
So you get a pile of rings after every battle, and you have to unlock them one by one in hopes that you get Marth or some other S rank hero.
Well, so I think Marth is going to be the default that you get, but they showed other ones that you could get, even some that weren't full lords, if I remember right.
So yeah,
I don't remember all the characters.
Yeah, I mean, I recognized quite a few of the names. I'm no Fire Emblem lore expert. I love the games. I think they're very fun, but that is not one of the games where I have devoted an enormous amount of brain capacity to remember its lore. So some of the characters I'm like, yeah, I remember those names, and other ones I'm like, that sounds familiar.
And in the leak, they said that the purpose of this game was to be like a 30th anniversary celebration. However, Nintendo themselves have never said this, so this is just like a fan thing that we've attached to this game. It could just be entirely by coincidence this coming out the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And Intelligent Systems just knows that following the Heroes model of just jamming in all these characters with gacha mechanics generates money.
I mean, it very clearly does. Fire Emblem Heroes is one of Nintendo's most successful mobile games ever.
So even though there hasn't been any mainline games that have broken the 3 million mark, I think. Did Three Houses break 3 million? I don't remember.
That's a good question.
Because of Heroes, it is a hyper profitable franchise. And so I think it's going to be slipping into that state of over controlled by producers. We just use this for money kind of franchises, sort of like what Mario and Pokemon have been becoming as well.
Yeah. As of December 2020, Three Houses sold 3.4 million copies. So it's probably higher than that, but yeah.
All right. So maybe about 3.5-ish million. Because like if it weren't for Heroes, it would still be in like that tier where Nintendo continues supporting it, but it's more for the fans rather than money grabs. But because of Heroes, I think they're trying to pull the Heroes player base into the mainline games.
I could see that.
That's just my theory.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it's a theory that a lot of people seem to be saying online at the moment.
Yeah, I hope that the gameplay is really good, even if it looks kind of ridiculous. The maps that they showed, like the actual Fire Emblem core gameplay, it looked pretty solid. Just kind of that consistent Fire Emblem style. But it does look like there's a whole lot of like life simulation again, Jordan. So watch out for that.
A lot of just fluff and dating simulation. I'm going to bet that you pair up previous lords or whatever their spirits to like units you have in your army, and like there's a bond stat or whatever that you have to level up to increase their effectiveness as a shared unit.
That would be interesting. I could see that. That does sound like something they would do with this type of fusion mechanic. For sure. Either way, I think I'll get it, but this might be the first, well, I say first, but this might be the first Fire Emblem game that I don't want the special edition for. You know what I mean? Like, I'll have to wait and see what else they end up showing. It's coming very soon. It was like January, so it's right around the corner.
I was surprised. Even some of our like Fire Emblem fans seemed a bit cautious. I don't want to say like down, but they were pretty cautious of what they saw.
Yeah, some of our Fire Emblem fan friends. So, hey, we like Fire Emblem. Like, don't get the wrong idea.
Oh man, every game makes me feel like I don't.
Good point. I don't know. Fire Emblem, I feel, has just taken some weird turns since the middle of the 3DS era. Like, Awakening was really good and really fun. Solid character designs, really great story, great plot twists, great combat, great maps, and even some good like little bonus DLC stuff. Echoes was also phenomenal, but that was a remake. Echoes Shadows of Valencia. I mean, that's its full title. And then you have Fire Emblem Fates. That's the name of it. And that one, I think it had some really great maps, but the story definitely went off the rails. And that's when they started doing the like 3 different paths thing, which they carried on into Three Houses, which I know there are a lot of amazing fans of Three Houses that think it's a phenomenal game and it's great. But I got so burnt out on fishing that I stopped playing the game and still haven't beat it. So there you go.
Yeah. So like with my personal experience, I really liked Awakening when it came out. I just feel like Nintendo has learned the wrong lessons from, well, actually, they probably learned the right lessons because after Awakening, it became a lot more popular. And so just like abandoning me as a consumer base was probably the right choice for the franchise. I just kind of need to come to terms with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because the GameCube and Wii games, that starred Ike were phenomenal. They're amazing Fire Emblem games. But those really appealed to the hardcore fans that were way more into the strategy aspect and not so much the anime and waifu aspect, I guess.
Yeah. So, I can't criticize Nintendo too much, but it definitely has made me feel like there's a bit of a falling out. But even then, I really liked Awakening. I really liked Shadows of Valencia. I liked Three Houses when I wasn't at the school. I really hated the school.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was just so bad. But everything outside of the school was like some of the best that Fire Emblem has ever been.
Yep.
So it's really hard to be too no, I don't know. It's not too hard actually to be too judgmental. This school stuff is so bad.
Yeah.
And then Fates, people really like the maps. I've heard a lot of good reception for the maps, but like everything else is just so bland.
Like, I loved Fates a lot. Like, I played the heck out of that game. The maps are so good. Conquest is probably the best of the 3 routes when it comes to like map design and difficulty. I love a lot of the characters. I think that the dynamic between the 2 families is really great. I think that Corrin is actually a pretty interesting protagonist. And then I don't know. It gets really weird when you learn the actual story of the game, when you get to the different paths.
Well, that's the other thing. There are certain things about Three Houses and Fates that are a bit uncomfortable for Western culture, but
yeah, a little bit. But anyway, I'm excited to see what happens with Fire Emblem Engage. I really am.
I don't know. I might sit this one out, honestly.
Well, we'll probably get Nintendo Direct.
They're really going to have to work hard to get me back in this one.
Oh, really? Well, I hope they give us a good Nintendo Direct or like some long trailer of gameplay before it comes out so that we can really have a good idea of what's going on. And I'm sure that'll happen.
Yeah, it just feels like it's doubling down on all the things I don't like about modern day Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll be popular. I'm sure it'll sell well. And Nintendo doesn't need my money for it.
Fair enough.
Speaking of JRPG-esque games, we got the announcement for Octopath Traveller 2. And as someone who is known for just not liking JRPGs at all, I really like the first Octopath Traveller, surprisingly.
It's a good game.
People are really surprised by that because it's like a very JRPG-y JRPG.
Yeah. It's a really great story. It was really cool that it was a Nintendo Switch exclusive first, and it came out so early in the Switch's life. And it was in an art style that hadn't really been done, except for, I guess, in the indie scene in some ways. And the story is really engaging. The characters are really well, thought out. And there's voice acting for almost everything in the game. And it looks like Octopath Traveler 2 is really taking on all of those cues and just making a sequel. Or I don't know if it's like really a sequel, I guess. It doesn't look like the main characters are returning at all.
It feels like they're taking the previous formula and running it again.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I would have liked a bit more mixing things up. Like it's just the same 8 classes again.
Yeah.
They're just they're borrowing a bit too much from Octopath Traveler 1 for me to be comfortable with, but I guess they're going to lean more on the story aspect, which is not what I'm really that interested in with Octopath Traveler to begin with. I just really liked being able to run from gameplay loop to gameplay loop, and Octopath Traveler was really easy to ignore the story. I think that's why, as a JRPG, I was more fine with it than most other JRPGs.
That makes sense. But hey, it's a sequel game in a Square Enix series, so of course they're going to lean heavily on its formula. That's just what they do. Yeah.
So hopefully it holds up. I am really excited. I'm definitely starting with the merchant this time. I've already fallen in love with his character design. So
yeah, it's cool. I'm not sure where I'll start. I actually never finished Octopath Traveler. I got pretty far, but then I got busy with everything.
Like everyone I talk to says like, yeah, Octopath Traveler is great. I love it. And then they always say, but I've never finished it. I've never found anyone that's actually finished the game. It's too long.
It's a very long game, but it's really good. Anyway, that comes out pretty soon. I don't remember the date, but
I believe it's February.
That sounds right.
If I remember right.
It'll be an exciting title to keep an eye on, at least. Beyond Octopath Traveler, we kind of wanted to talk about some things that are coming to like Nintendo Switch Expansion Pass. They announced a handful of games coming to the N64, and there are some pretty great titles on here. Kind of the ones that I don't really care about too much are like 1080 Snowboarding and Excite Bike. Like I never played those on the N64 and they just don't really excite me, for lack of a better term.
I played so much Excite Bike as a kid.
Oh, really?
It was so much fun. I don't think it holds up anymore.
Okay. I was about to be like, I guess I'm going to have to give that one a real solid chance, Jordan. Thanks for the recommendation.
I guarantee there are way better motorcycle sims out there. I do like, because Excite Bike originated on the NES. So like it was a sequel in a way. Like they were trying to turn Excite Bike into a franchise. I don't think we've seen anything out of the Excite franchise since the Wii, though. No, we have not. It's kind of been dormant. And then 1080 Snowboarding, a lot of people really enjoy that one. I never played much outside of at friends' houses because everyone who owned an N64 other than me had 1080 store. Which is funny because
none of my friends had it, but I do remember playing the GameCube version of it. So
I feel like when it comes to N64 games, that the most popular ones have got to be Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, 1080 Snowboarding, and Mario 64.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Pokemon Stadium probably is up there.
Yeah.
Those are probably the top 5 most popular.
But it's cool to see them come to Nintendo Switch Online. On top of that, we're also getting Pilot Wings. I spent an enormous amount of time playing Pilot Wings as a kid. It was one of the few copies that my grandparents had up at their cabin, which was really where I only played the N64 unless I was at a friend's house. And they're just some really fun little mini game things, and it's also just really fun to simulate being a pilot. I have no idea if it holds up today because I literally haven't played it since I was probably 11. So it's been a long time.
Didn't they remake this for the 3DS?
Yes, they did. I don't know if it was a remake or if it was like a new sequel, but I didn't play the 3DS one.
The thing with Pilot Wings is it always felt like a tech demo for the N64.
It probably was.
It was really useful for its time. It's not like it cost Nintendo anything to put this on.
No. I'm surprised online, it took them this long to put it on here. Like, I don't think it'd be that difficult, but whatever.
But it's not like, oh, quick, pull out your $20 and get the expansion pass. You got to play through Pilot Wings, which probably costs like $1 on the internet.
Yeah, no. But cool to see them come. You know, those are just, it's an integral part of my childhood, at least in some ways. They also announced that all 3 N64 Mario Party games are coming to the expansion pass, which that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Especially since they gave us pretty much all of those maps in one of the Switch Mario Party releases recently, too. So
yeah, I think that's why they're a year late.
Oh, they wanted to let the other one sit for a bit.
I think so. I think there was a bit of like a timing issue with the previous Mario Party. And they're like, this is the first Mario Party that's like a big focus online. Let's not bring the originals the same month and compete against it. But I'm very excited. Mario Party 3 is my favorite Mario Party, so being able to have the option to play that online with friends, is really exciting.
I cannot wait to make the Joy-Con drift worse, though, with some of those spin your joysticks around as fast as you can mini games, though. Good.
I think they included that minigame in Super Mario Party.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And I think there's a giant warning saying, don't do this to your controller when you play that minigame. I wonder if they'll add that minigame to the ROM.
Do not use your palm to spin this around as fast as you can. Just use your thumb. Either way, excited to see the Mario parties. They also announced the 2 Pokemon Stadium games. I did not look at the Japanese listing. They might have done all 3 stadiums for Japan, considering they're not that hard to bring out. But it's cool to see the Pokemon Stadium games make their way into the expansion pass. The only problem is that you can only use rental teams. They did not do any effort to connect up to like Pokemon Home. So a huge portion of like the draw of those games is just not going to work. So
now, to be fair, I was before you said that, I was just about to say, like, I want to fight you. Rentals only. Don't look up any like competitive teams.
Okay. I mean, we can do that. Sure. But
I do think there is fun to have in playing the rental battles, but that fun only lasts for like an hour or 2.
Yeah.
You want to move on to your normal teams.
But both stadium games actually have some really good mini games to play with friends. So
yes,
that's another big draw for them.
Stadium is one of the best multiplayer games on the N64,
which is kind of crazy. I think that it just has amazing party features. Lots of really fun mini games there. I do wish that we could transfer in Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon from home to play with, especially considering that Pokemon Home recently has made it clear that they store a lot of data server side. Now, before they actually like didn't really have a database for your Pokemon. It was more like a collection of save files, kind of like your save file system is. But now you can actually transfer Pokemon between Sword and Shield and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Legends Arceus, and Pokemon Home can restore their data, which is really awesome. Like you send it to Legends Arceus, you have it learn a bunch of moves there, but you send it back to Home and then to Sword and Shield. You're like, oh crap, it must have forgotten everything that I did. No, it's like literally keeping a state of those Pokemon assigned to each of those games so that they can be restored. And like, I feel like that technology could easily be applied to the Stadium games. But they just apparently decided not to do that.
Yeah. Also, the best feature of Stadium was that you could play the original Game Boy games on your N64 at double speed.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty rad.
It was my main way of playing the core or Gen 1 and Gen 2 back in the day.
Oh, well. So Pokemon Stadium, that's pretty cool. Then the other huge one that they announced after those ones was GoldenEye.
Yeah.
That's coming to N64 Switch Online. That's crazy.
Yeah, considering how much of a copyright mess it is, we know that to do anything with the GoldenEye game now, you have to get Nintendo, MGM, and Rareware on board at the same time.
And I think Nintendo and Rareware have a really good relationship. It's just the communication to MGM that would be a pain.
Yeah. And there's been lots of rumors that we're actually going to be getting a GoldenEye remake soon.
Yeah.
And so like part of the deal was that Nintendo gets like the ROM and Microsoft gets to make the actual remake or something. So we'll see if that rumor ends up panning out true. I don't know how well a remake would actually hold up, but there are a lot of people who are very nostalgic for GoldenEye. It was a huge moment for the FPS genre.
Yeah, it honestly defined a lot of what modern FPS games have been able to pull out.
Yeah, it might sound weird to say, but there was a time when Nintendo was the console of choice for first-person shooters.
I know, it's crazy.
The N64 was just so much better than anything else at the time. The only other like system that was better than N64 was PC, obviously. PC just always just blows away, especially in FPS, because mouse controls are so much more accurate. But because the N64 was the first console to have a joystick, it was a big moment for controls for FPS. In general. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we got Doom 64 and GoldenEye and Turok and Quake. Also, just having 4 slots for a split screen multiplayer was a big deal.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's really nice to see that area of N64 history be
preserved.
Kind of preserved, right? Because FPSs was a big part of the N64 identity, which is really strange to say for today's view of Nintendo.
Yep, exactly. And of course, another really cool thing they announced was that GoldenEye is getting online play, which is pretty cool. I think it'll be very fun to play with your friends.
This selection of games should have been at the release for the N64 stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
These are the multiplayer games that people would want to actually play online for.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, as much as I love Star Fox 64, the multiplayer of Star Fox 64 is not fun. You play that for the main game. So these games, you mostly play for the multiplayer. Even Excite Bike and 1080 Snowboarding, I believe, are big multiplayer games. So
yep.
I still don't understand why Nintendo does this slow trickle release. I understand why GoldenEye would have taken some time. I don't understand any of these other games, though. Well, aside from Mario Party. The Mario Parties and GoldenEye make sense to sit and wait on. Everything else should have been at release.
I agree. I do totally agree with all of that. So really exciting time for the N64 fans that have the expansion pass. But speaking of this expansion pass, we also got details on the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC Wave 3. That is such a mouthful to say. And it looks pretty good. I don't think they showed off all of the courses, and I definitely wasn't paying attention to which ones they showed off, but I think they only showed like 2 or something, if I remember back now. It was like another one from Mario Kart Tour, which was the mobile game, and then like Peach Gardens from the DS. I think that's the console it was on.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah.
Cool to see that. Excited to see what other courses come out. As confirmed, well, as indicated by Pack 2, Pack 3 basically confirms that they're putting all of the Mario Kart Tour tracks in the DLC.
They realize that we put all this work into all these courses and no one's playing our game. We really need to park them somewhere.
Yeah. Just put them in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as
we
a DLC.
need to recoup our costs somewhere. Here, charge everyone 50 cents per course.
Yeah. But if you have the expansion pass, it's free. Either way, it's cool to see Mario Kart continue to get new courses. So
yeah, we also got Mario Strikers DLC.
Woohoo!
They're increasing the roster by 2 with Pauline and Diddy Kong.
What are we at now? Like 80% of a complete game now?
I don't even know about that. What was the starting roster? Was it 10? Was it 8?
I don't remember the number. I mean, I bought the game, but
this is only the second wave, right? So we've gotten 4 characters since then.
Yeah,
they really should just waited. I hate this like Mario Sports trend of just releasing a half-finished game and then just being like, and then we'll just slowly update things. Like, yeah, how many people are going to be dusting off their Mario Strikers specifically just to play Pauline and Diddy Kong? Like,
especially since Diddy Kong has been in the games. Wait, was he in the GameCube one? I have
no idea.
I don't remember if he's in the GameCube one, but he was definitely in the Wii one. So like he should have been in the base game because he's a returning character, much like Daisy was. And Daisy was part of DLC Wave 1. It drives me nuts. Like,
I am still very surprised that both Daisy and Pauline did not make it in a base game.
I know.
Like, they are pushing so hard to have them be included in the base identity of Mario. And then they were just kind of just gone.
Yeah.
Diddy Kong probably should have been there. Shy Guy definitely feels like was it Shy Guy? Yeah,
I think so.
Shy Guy definitely feels like a DLC kind of pick, but everyone loves Shy Guy. So, and it's free DLC, free in a sense. Technically, you already paid for it by purchasing half a game, and you're just waiting for the rest of your investment to pay off.
Yeah. Yep. On top of the Mario Strikers DLC, though, kind of continuing into the unfinished sports games, they announced that another update for Switch Sports is coming. Woohoo! Golf! Who's excited for golf? The mode that should have been in the game from the beginning.
Probably my dad. My dad loves Switch Sports. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He loves Wii Sports, and we've been trying to get him into Switch Sports, but it's really hard to get him to move to new games.
Just interesting that they had to tell us about that. Anyway, so Mario Strikers and Switch Sports getting their next waves of DLC pretty soon.
The thing with Switch Sports, though, is that they warned us that this was going to be the case with Switch Sports. Because when they announced Switch Sports, they're also like, and then in fall, we will be including these modes. So It's not like they warned us with Switch Sports that the game's not finished and we promised to finish it. Whereas with Strikers, it's just like, here's the game. It's not done. It's not
clearly not done,
but it might be.
We're not gonna tell.
So I'm a lot more forgiving of Switch Sports than I am of
I agree.
Mario Strikers.
It seems like development for Switch Sports was just a nightmare, but anyway, I don't know enough of those details, but from what I've seen online, there are apparently stories of them like scrapping so many ideas for Switch Sports and just starting fresh over and over again. So anyway, the other DLC that they kind of announced and released, well, to show off, was the next wave of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. And I'm really excited for this one. They're adding a new hero, which is so cool. And the hero has some pretty unique features about her. She looks like she has a skill tree, which none of the other heroes really have a skill tree. And she looks to have a very interesting story. I'm excited to see more of that. And they're also adding the challenge battles to Xenoblade 3, which is one of my favorite parts of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, where these challenge battles, which you just try to optimize your build to defeat waves and waves of enemies as fast as possible so that you can get some really cool rewards. And of course, the best part are the swimsuit skins. Let's go! Everyone's favorite part of a JRPG are the swimsuit skins.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are excited for that.
I mean, I like them, but anyway.
This might be, I don't know. So I thought it was funny that Nintendo kind of appeared embarrassed by this character because they kind of muted her voice the entire time. They would not give her like her full voice lines at full volume.
I didn't even notice that.
And honestly, I think it's probably the best choice because I think her voice is kind of annoying. It's really, really squeaky.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of moments in Xenoblade where the voice acting is actually really good. They've had some pretty good direction with this game, but then there are other times where I'm just like, I get that you had to take a pool of mostly European and especially British voice actors. But like, I would just really appreciate listening to not British voices in some of these games.
Well,
but anyway.
This character specifically kind of sounds like what you'd expect out of an anime dub from the 90s, in my opinion.
Yeah, that tracks then. Wanting to silence that. Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, so Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. I'm excited. I love Xenoblade. They also announced a couple of interesting remakes that are kind of staples of Nintendo consoles in a way. The first one is Kirby's Return to Dreamland is getting a remake.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about this one. So this is a remake of the Wii game,
yep.
Correct?
The Wii game where Kirby first gets the gigantic sword that he uses in his Final Smash.
So this is one of the few Kirby games that I actually missed on.
Oh, really?
I just never really got around to picking it up. It came out at a time where I just wasn't. When did it come out? I feel like I was just really busy at that time.
Yeah, it was October 24th, 2011.
2011. Okay, that tracks. So that was when I first started uni. So I was pretty busy. In fact, I don't even think I took my game console with me. So that's why I ended up missing out on this one. And I have a lot of friends who speak highly of this one, so I'll probably pick it up and play through it. I don't know how much it's going to hold up.
That's my worry.
I think a lot of people were like hyping it up because we hadn't gotten a console Kirby in a long time before this one.
Yeah. Return to Dreamland back in 2011 was a big release because I think it was Epic Yarn right before that. Unless Epic Yarn was later.
I believe Epic Yarn was right before it. We didn't get a classic console Kirby game since the N64. Though,
right, because we had Crystal Shards, and then the only console Kirby game on the GameCube was Air Ride.
Yeah.
And Air Ride's a phenomenal game, but it's definitely not a one-player Kirby adventure.
So it was one of those moments where it felt like we were finally getting another franchise again, and it's been a nearly consistently yearly release since then.
Yep.
So I don't know how well it'll hold up. Maybe it's going to feel a lot like Star Allies at this point, because Star Allies felt like a very generic Kirby game. And so I imagine that a return to form Kirby game with the like main focus being we're returning to like core Kirby would also kind of fall in that camp. But
I mean, I haven't played it since 2011, so honestly, I don't remember.
So we'll see.
I'm probably going to skip out on it simply because like I love Kirby so much, but I've played it before and it just doesn't appeal to me right now where I'm at in gaming.
Okay.
But the mini games look really great, especially since they're bringing back some of the mini games even from Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which was a Game Boy Advance game. That looks pretty cool.
And I still need to get through the latest Kirby as well.
I know, me too.
There's just been a lot of games this year.
Yeah, for real. It's been a big game release year. But yeah, it looks really nice. Still looks kind of like a Wii game, though, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It was just the compression on the YouTube video. It looked like it didn't look very good.
No. And there was such a thick outline on all of the characters.
Yeah.
That was weird.
And it was like fuzzy, too. And I don't think either Nintendo didn't present it well, or they might need to spend a bit more time rounding out the edges.
Yeah, I hope it looks better on release because it is a really, really fun Kirby game. And the like super copyability mechanic, where the gigantic sword, there are all sorts of those throughout the game, and that's really fun. Being able to use those. So
it is crazy that what is this, the third Kirby game this year?
Yeah. Since we got Forgotten Kingdom, we got the Fall Guys Kirby, and now this one. Kirby fans are eating well this year.
Wow, they have a lot of room to eat.
Yep. Beyond Kirby, though, another really interesting and good remake that's coming out, which I'm excited for, is Tales of Symphonia is getting its kind of remastered version released on Switch. It looks identical to the remaster that was released on like PlayStation 3 or 4, whenever that was, and Xbox. But this game hasn't been on a Switch console on a Nintendo console since the GameCube, where it originally launched. And it is a classic RPG or JRPG. The story is really good and engaging. The combat is very fun. And like, if you are super curious about why everybody wanted Lloyd in Super Smash Brothers, you should play this game because Lloyd is an amazing protagonist and it's just a great game.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people gush about this one. This one's typically at the top of people's favorite JRPGs.
I spent way too many hours playing this game when I was in middle school, so it's very good.
This is like the Nintendo equivalent of Final Fantasy VII.
Honestly, yeah. Namco did an amazing job with this one. I'm not going to pick it up on Switch because I actually recently purchased it for PC and it looks like it's the exact same version. But I know there are tons of Nintendo Switch fans that will probably pick it up. So
wasn't the sequel also a Nintendo exclusive?
Yeah, that one was Symphonia on the Wii, and it was a weird game. I do not recommend it unless you want to know how the story pans out. It was more like a beast tamer game. It was weird. Plus, the main characters were like secondary protagonists in a way. Like, it was bizarre. I played it, of course, because I love Tales of Symphonia, but Tales of Symphonia, the first game, is definitely the better of the two. By a very large margin. I wish that they would re-release Tales of the Abyss, though. Oh, I love that one so much.
That's another one that I hear a lot about.
I like Tales of the Abyss more than Symphonia in a lot of ways.
The only Tales of game I've played was Vesperia.
Vesperia is also fairly okay.
I did not like it.
I believe it's one of the weaker of the titles.
See, when it came out, people kept telling me it was the best one.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Huh. So opinions have definitely soured over the years.
At least I think I haven't kept up with the Tales series enough to like remember which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones. But I seem to recall that one not being so great. Tales of Berseria, on the other hand, I know people love that one. And people have also really enjoyed Tales of Arise, which came out, I think, last year. So... yeah. Anyway, I love the Tales series. They're very good. Tales of Symphonia and Tales of the Abyss are my favorite in the series, though. And Tales of the Abyss had a 3DS launch, which was really fascinating. I hope that they eventually bring that one back. But that's just me wishing and hoping. We're getting Tales of Symphonia, and it's a great game. Okay, Now, Jordan, I would like for you to paint me the picture of when Miyamoto took over the Direct for a few moments. How did that go down?
So Miyamoto showed up in his white void that he's been showing up in every Direct so far. And started immediately talking about the Mario Bros. Movie. And it's like, oh, so it's time to talk about the Mario Bros. Movie. He's like, so did you know that like the Mario Bros. Movie is being delayed? Yeah, we did. Anyway, I came here to talk about Pikmin. It's like, wow, that was a bit of a transition. So everyone gets like really excited. Oh, okay. We're going to talk about Pikmin
trailer.
4.
Let's go.
And he's like, oh, we released a game called Pikmin Bloom. And let me tell you about why you should play this game. And he sat there for like what felt like an eternity talking about Pikmin Bloom. And so like the Discord, one of the Discords I was on was just like losing it. They were just worried that all he was going to talk about was Pikmin Bloom, that he's going to confirm that Pikmin Bloom was Pikmin 4 all along, and that he's holding the real Pikmin 4 hostage until like the community takes 1 billion steps in Pikmin Bloom.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
It's a real test to see how much you like it. And then after all that, he finally says, anyway, I have something to show you. And then they like have this pan shot of a Pikmin environment, and everyone starts screaming that's Pikmin 4 because everyone knows that it's obviously going to be Pikmin 4 because we've been waiting since 2015 when he said it was almost done.
I know. Yeah, 2015. He said in an interview, yeah, it's almost done.
And then we got the title drop, Pikmin 4, and it's like, oh, it's just a title drop. It'll probably take, well, next year. It's like, why didn't you show more?
I know.
Why'd you spend like 10 hours talking about Pikmin Bloom?
I mean, this coming from someone that follows what Niantic has been doing, because Niantic makes Pokemon Go, it very clearly seems to be a Niantic asked Nintendo to push for Pikmin Bloom to be like, used more because Niantic is falling apart at the seams. They have canceled so many of their projects and have dropped a very large chunk of their team because the only game making money is Pokemon Go. And so they're like, please, we know you wanted us to make Pikmin Bloom, but we need your help to get more people to play it. I think that is why Miyamoto talked about it for so long.
That's a possibility. However, whoever was in charge of directing that moment really made it feel like a senile moment for Miyamoto.
I just like walking with my Pikmin.
It's like, what is going? He's going on a rant now. Where's this tangent going?
Miyamoto, please tell us what's happening here. Oh. Anyway, it's really exciting to see Pikmin 4. I lost it when I saw those shots. They look gorgeous. Like, Pikmin 3 looked really good, but those shots that they showed us just look phenomenal. And I'm really excited to see how they've changed the controls. It seems like, we're going to a much closer perspective to the ground is kind of what he was hinting at. So I wonder if we're getting the same like point controls that we've had since the Wii releases of Pikmin 1 and 2. I could see them totally changing that up.
Well, they're going to change things up a bit because Pikmin 3 was, while the minimap wasn't required, it was heavily built around the idea of you having the minimap around.
Yes, definitely.
So, and because motion controls are not like a dominant feature of the Switch, I can see motion controls still being like an option for Pikmin 4, but I feel like they're going to have to move back towards a more traditional layout of controls like Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, specifically for like the Switch Lite users.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm sure that is a consideration they've had to work around. And that might be why it's taken so long, is that they are really reimagining how to control the game so that it works better.
At the same time, Pikmin's just known for just being in development hell forever. Like for whatever reason, Nintendo puts a lot of effort into the like technical capabilities of the Pikmin games.
Well, yeah.
Like probably too much effort, to be honest, because like Pikmin 1 was clearly designed to be a tech demo. Pikmin 3 was clearly designed to like showcase the graphical capability of the Wii U. And I could see Pikmin 4 following the same vein. Like they really push the systems to the limits with these games, which is odd because it's Pikmin. It's not what you would expect out of.
Like, Miyamoto's been with the company so long. He's the one that pushes Pikmin forward. We'll just let him do whatever he wants with it.
So I'm sure the graphics will be beautiful. Did they ever give it the Switch logo? Quick question.
I don't know. I was not paying attention to that. There could be a reason
why we didn't see much.
I mean, and I wanted to bring this up later with our very last topic too, but like, I do feel like we are actually inching towards an upgraded Switch model, like the sequel to the Switch very soon. I could see Pikmin 4 being like you can get the slightly downgraded visual version for the regular Switch, but also this might be the big Switch sequel game. Weren't we talking about, could you imagine if Pikmin 4 was the Switch 2 launch title? Wasn't that like one of our things like 2 or 3 episodes ago?
Yeah, we were saying that. I just looked it up on YouTube though, and it did have the Switch icon.
Dang it.
Oh well. Maybe it's just there to lead us off the trail. Because if it wasn't there.
Anyway.
I have actually been like keeping a very close eye on Nintendo trailers for when they're eventually going to slip a trailer that doesn't have the Switch icon at the beginning.
Okay, yeah, good enough. Good point.
Because eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
It's got to happen
It'll
soon.
Be here.
But with like the contents of the trailer, it looked like Brittany was making a return. So it looks like it's going to follow the 3 captains from 3 again, which I wouldn't be upset with because it was fun controlling 3. But I do miss Olimar. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't Brittany. Maybe it was a whole new girl character. I don't know. But she was pink and she definitely looked like Brittany. So I'm going with Brittany for now. Anything else to mention about Pikmin 4? There really wasn't a ton of details.
No, there was no details.
Unless you think that Pikmin Bloom mechanics are going to make their way into 4.
Please, no. I don't want any Bloom integration. Just keep that separate on the phone. I don't want to deal with that game.
I also kind of just wanted to point out, we're not going to talk about this for very long, but it really did feel like Nintendo had to summon like the ancient deities of farming simulator games for this direct. Like, there were so many games about like farming or building up towns. It was kind of hilarious.
So with the success of Stardew Valley on the Switch, and then also Animal Crossing, while Animal Crossing is not a farming game, it's kind of in that same like casual,
cozy
vibe.
Gaming, going around doing simple tasks genre.
Yeah, it's at least adjacent to the farming sims.
So are we going to start calling these Stardew likes?
That would be horrendously ironic.
I know, right?
Because the whole point of Stardew was that we were finally getting farming simulators back.
Right. Maybe we call them animal dues. Where we combine Castlevania and Metroid for Metroidvania. So maybe they're animal dues. I don't know.
Stardew was so wildly successful that it brought back from the grave the games it mimics.
It's crazy. And it's getting a new game soon. Not a sequel, but like that Haunted Chocolatier, which looks so cool.
I'm pretty excited for that.
But that wasn't shown in the direct. It's just interesting where that studio is moving. But
I'm pretty sure it'll come to the Switch, though. Like, Stardew Valley on the Switch. The Switch was by far one of its best-selling platforms.
Well, yeah, because you've got the Animal Crossing folks that were then like, I love Animal Crossing, but I want to do more farming. And they got Stardew. So anyway, just really kind of fun to see even like JRPGs built around farming mechanics in the direct. made me chuckle a little bit.
Like there's also that Harvestella game, which I know there's a bunch of people that are really excited for.
Right. But that's not really our genre. So
I love Stardew. I know,
but
like
you're not like actively seeking out these cozy farming games.
No. I'm definitely more on the action side of games.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so that was just kind of a funny little coinky-dink. But we also got a ton of information about third-party ports, right? Why don't you get started on some of the big ones?
Third-party ports. So there were some that like I'm personally really excited for, mostly because I really like these games. I'm really excited that we're getting both Tunic and Sifu. Honestly, I probably won't get them on Switch, but I'm mostly really excited for personal reasons, and that now I have an excuse to sneak them into my Games of the Year list this year.
Amazing.
Because they'll be on Switch.
I see how that works.
Honestly, because of this, Sifu's my Game of the Year for Switch. I don't see anything else coming out this year that is better than Sifu. Sifu is... If Elden Ring didn't come out this year, Sifu would be by far my favorite game released this year by anything.
I need to give it a shot then.
It's so good. I'm a bit concerned how well it will run on Switch. It looks like they really had to make concessions on graphical capabilities.
What are you talking about? They couldn't just optimize everything perfectly so that they could keep the graphical power that they wanted?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
My suggestion is if you have any other platform, pick it up there and play it. It's amazing. It's one of the best games this year. If it doesn't get nominated for Game of the Year, it's not going to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, because we already know that that's going to be Elden Ring. But if it doesn't get nominated, that's going to be a crime. Like it's it's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, I will look forward to it. I'll put it on my Steam wish list, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's on Steam.
Oh, is it not?
It's on Epic. I'm pretty sure it was an Epic exclusive.
Yes, it's on Epic. I guess I'll buy it on Epic.
I believe it was a console exclusive to PlayStation and an Epic exclusive for PC. I don't think Xbox has Sifu yet.
I don't think it does. No.
So this is actually a pretty big release.
Like I literally just searched Sifu Xbox and it's like, nope.
Yeah, I highly suggest picking it up. If you have a platform that's not the Switch, though, prioritize that platform. But if the Switch is the only option you have, then take what you can get. And it's a phenomenal game. I just wish it had a bit more power backing it for the graphical capabilities, but I'm sure they had to like bring down the resolution, the graphics capabilities, because they really wanted to make sure that the action flowed really well.
Like they've had to do with the Doom games and all those other big titles that have made their way to Switch. So excited for that. Talking about like another kind of graphically impressive game that released really like recently, they're putting out like a whole bunch of Resident Evil games on Switch via cloud so that they can just bypass all of that optimization stuff. I forget the name of the newest. It's Resident Evil Village. That one came out really recently, and it's coming to Switch via cloud. So I won't get it, but I think it's cool that it's coming to Switch.
I'm surprised. Like, do people buy these cloud games?
I mean, I guess enough do.
And enough have to be buying them for this. Do they know that they're cloud games and they're buying it? Are they just going on the store and being like, oh, cool, Control is on Switch. I can't wait to play this on the bus.
I sure hope so.
I hope not. I hope they do know.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I hope they know that it's cloud. I mean, it says cloud, and I think there are notices in the eShop that are like, you need an internet connection for this game.
Man, I don't think clouds are a good consumer option, but I guess if it's your only option, like this is the only way Resident Evil 8 could have gotten on Switch.
Oh, so for sure.
Kind of like cycling back over to Tunic. Tunic also came out this year and is also, I think Tunic is a phenomenal game for Nintendo fans. It feels like a game that was made as a love letter to Nintendo fans, because the whole idea of the game was that it was supposed to capture the same sort of feeling of playing your first adventure game on the NES or Game Boy or whatever back in the day. And there's no internet to help you. And the only thing you have to like as a resource is the game manual that the game came with, but you're too young to read. So all of the letters are gibberish.
That's amazing.
So all the puzzles are like explained in the manual, but because it's just like triangles and random shapes and all this stuff, you can't just like discern what it's trying to say other than through what like a child would be able to figure out.
Okay, that's so cool. I think I need to play this game now.
Yeah, it's very Zelda-esque. If you're a Zelda fan, this is a phenomenal game. And will definitely be on my Game of the Year list at somewhere on that list. And then another game that I personally put up here was Factorio. It's an older game, so it won't get on my list, but Factorio is absolutely phenomenal. If you have an engineering brain like I do, it is absolutely addicting because it's just like the puzzle game that just keeps on puzzling.
Yeah. My little brother has spent a lot of hours playing the game, and it is such a cool game. I haven't really played it myself. I've tried a little bit, but I know I always find other things to do, but I do really want to give it a shot one of these days. It looks so fun and so cool, and it's really cool to see it come to Switch. I know a lot of people are going to really love it, and having it on that handheld is probably going to be huge for a lot of people, because it is kind of a like you can continue to expand your world and do things at your own pace. You know, build different relays, build different machines, different supply lines. You know, just do it as you want to. There's not like a massive time limit, I guess. But anyway, really cool to see it on Switch, even though the game is like, what, 7 years old or something crazy?
It's pretty old at this point, yeah. And also this game was like a game that kind of created an entire genre. I don't know what we call the genre, engineering games.
I guess.
Factory
simulation.
Factory simulation. Factory simulations have quickly become one of my favorite genres in gaming, and it all came from this game.
Okay, it's even older than I thought. It released originally in 2013.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised this wasn't on the Wii U. I feel like it was like, was it on the Wii U?
I don't think so.
It feels like the perfect game for a Wii U.
I'm only seeing it listed for all of the PC OSs, including like Mac OS and Linux. So I don't see Switch or Wii U on the list here. So, I mean, Switch now, obviously, but another one that I just kind of wanted to point out is they announced It Takes Two is coming to Switch. And didn't It Takes Two win like Game of the Year last year?
It did. I think it snubbed Metroid.
I agree on that front.
I think it's overblown. I'm sorry. I played through it. I might have been like soured because I played it after the Game Awards.
So you're already mad at it for beating Metroid.
From a gameplay perspective, the gameplay is good. It's fun. Like the asymmetric puzzles and like it's constantly kind of reinventing itself level to level and has a lot of ideas. I just think the story is so bland and annoying. I do not like the writing of that game. And apparently they're making like a movie for the the game. And it's like, man, this is going to come across as like one of the most generic films ever. Let me double check if that's true. Maybe not.
Well, there's an old It Takes Two film from 1995.
There is an old one. I swear I remember someone saying, yeah, It Takes Two movie lands at Amazon. So Amazon is apparently making an It Takes Two movie.
Well, there you go.
It was just hard to find because there's already a movie with that name. So you might even have to change the name. I don't think as much of a story to it, to be honest.
Well, I haven't played it yet, so...
a lot of people really like it because it's a good co-op game.
Right.
And it is.
And I think that's like where it'll find the most success on Switch. I know there are quite a few couples that play Switch games together, so I can imagine quite a few couples are going to buy it.
Man, even if like just from the Game Awards, I don't think it should have gone to It Takes Two. If anything, it probably should have gone to Psychonauts, but whatever.
That's in the past, Jordan. You can only look forward to the next.
I cannot let things go.
Those are kind of the big third-party ports that we wanted to talk about, except for another really big one that's not really a port, I guess. This is just a third-party game that's a Switch exclusive, and that is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. They showed off another trailer of that, and we already talked about it a few episodes ago because, like, it's coming out really soon, and it's more of like a Ubisoft game, but it still looks really good. Honestly, quite excited to give it a shot, though I might not play it right at release because I still have a bajillion things on my plate in October. So.
Yeah. So this is a game where I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's not that I'm excited, but I'm like looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
But every time they show it in trailers, it's just like, I don't think this is a good trailer.
Fair enough.
Like the trailers just feel not exciting or fun, or they feel pretty basic. But I know once I have it in my hands, I'll enjoy this game. So
yeah,
I just haven't been paying too much attention to its marketing material. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, literally. It'll be a fun game. Then the other one that I'm honestly looking forward to is Bayonetta 3. They showed off another little trailer of that and gave us a reminder like, yeah, Bayonetta 1 was about Bayonetta herself getting her memories back. And then Bayonetta 2 was about her saving her friend. But this time, Bayonetta 3 is saving the world from man-made monsters called homunculi. And I was like, let's go. No. I really like the Bayonetta series. I think that they're very fun action games. Very excited to see Bayonetta 3. They said that they were going to release a Bayonetta 3 additional trailer. I have not watched that yet. I can imagine that they did not want to show it in the main Nintendo Direct. First, because the Direct was actually pretty long at 40-something minutes runtime. And second of all, because Bayonetta is like the mature Nintendo property. Even though it's a Platinum game, Nintendo owns the publishing rights. So I consider it a Nintendo game at this point. So
it definitely... Well, yeah, Nintendo's publishing the game, so, and she's in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, well, yeah,
she's at least a Nintendo family. She's part of the Nintendo family.
I agree.
Let's just say that
she's earned her place. She's like the mature side of the Nintendo family.
And Nintendo's been trying to get like that spot filled for quite some time. There was a moment during Wii U where they were attempting to get Ryu Hayabusa to fill that slot, but it didn't really pan out.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's why I think they transitioned to Bayonetta. I do think, though, it's funny because I remember back in the day, I think it was GameSpot. I was reading an article about like why Nintendo sucks because it can never have a game like Bayonetta.
And then joke's on you. Now they're the only ones with Bayonetta.
And apparently Nintendo took that article personally.
Yeah, literally. Exactly. There's some interesting mysteries about the trailer for Bayonetta. I won't talk about like the details, but the story looks interesting for sure. Bayonetta has like a new design, which is throwing off a lot of Bayonetta fans. Like, is this the same Bayonetta or is it a different one? We'll see. I think you would like the gameplay loop, Jordan. It is very action heavy. There's not a ton of like, while you're going through the levels, there aren't really any story breaks. You literally like blast through. The only time they cut for cutscenes within the levels are like, oh, an enemy has spawned in. Like, we need to grab your attention if it's like a big monster or something. But like the way that you can combo moves and change up your weapons and stuff, like it really does seem like the loop is right up your alley.
So the reason why I've never played it before is because it feels like a daunting task to start at 1 and play through 2 games in the span of like a month or 2 before 3 comes out.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it's like 2 games back to back has been kind of holding me off, because it's like, well, what happens if I lose my momentum going into 2 or whatever, right?
Well, 2 is better than 1. So
should I just start with 2? Should I just skip 1 and go back to it if I enjoy it?
I think that would be a good approach. There aren't a ton of like story details that you need to know in 2 in order to play 1, or that you need to know. I am going backwards. I'm going to cut that out and start this sentence again. There aren't that many story beats from 1 that you need to know in 2 for it to make sense. So I think that you totally can go right into 2 and play. You just might miss out on like a couple of little details, like some of Bayonetta's actual backstory, because Bayonetta 1 is much more involved in her backstory and who she is as a character, where she comes from, all of that kind of stuff. And 2 is very much like she's exploring the realm of her powers and trying to save her friend. I think you can pull it off.
Here's the next real question. Do I skip 2 and start at 3?
I don't know. I can't answer that one right now. I mean, from what we have seen of 3 in the trailer, I've been kind of following some like fan theories. You will need to at least play 1 in order to understand what's happening in 3, based on Bayonetta's haircut alone. I know it's a weird thing, but her haircut is like the same as like a child in 1, which has people confused.
Because like her hair is tied to her powers. I know that.
Yes.
So I guess it is kind of significant if she cuts it.
I don't know. I mean, Jordan, you could probably also just watch all of the cutscenes of the story if you wanted to.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I'm excited. I haven't played Bayonetta in a long time. I played both of them when they launched on Switch initially. And I played through both of them back to back because I really did enjoy the games. So again, I don't know if that's up your alley, doing 2 and then maybe 3 in a row. I guess that takes us to our last topic here, Jordan, from the Nintendo Direct, the big one, the big kahuna, the most important topic that Nintendo gave us, the one that a lot of people were like, hey, it's not going to happen. And I was kind of nervous that it wasn't going to happen. And that is the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel officially has a name. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. All right, tell me what you think.
Why did it take this long for us to get a title? It's been so obnoxious calling it the sequel to Breath of the Wild this whole time.
I know. I saw some people complaining on Twitter. They're like, wait, it's not called Breath of the Wild 2? Like, actual people worried about that. Like, I literally thought that they were going to call it Breath of the Wild 2. Like, that's what everyone's been calling it.
Yeah, I was looking at Nintendo's trailers on YouTube, and it was like, you know how they have the piece saying like this video is related to this game or whatever.
Yeah.
So then you could click on the game. So Zelda was like, it was still listed as just a sequel to Breath of the Wild, even though it had the title in the video. Also, on a quick tangent, I thought it was funny that Fire Emblem Engage was tied to the binding, the Sacred Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Like a really old Fire Emblem, not like Three Houses. It was from the official Nintendo channel.
Yeah, that's funny.
I don't see how this name was a spoiler. They said like, I swear in an interview last year that the reason why they haven't been giving us the name was because the name would like spoil some sort of lore bit. And that always felt like kind of a weak excuse because like, so you're just not going to tell us the name till we beat the game? Like we have to know eventually, right?
I know. Like, giving us the name isn't going to spoil more of the story. Like you're still controlling it by giving it a title. Anyway, I mean, I don't know why. Like some of the theories that I've seen are like it could be tied to the fact that the kingdom is fully in shambles. So the tears are representing how Hyrule has been absolutely like decimated or something ridiculous with all of the islands starting to float up in the sky. It could be that the tears are related to like the tears that you collect in the Skyward Sword trials. So maybe they're like, oh, this spoils one of the big mechanics that you have to collect like 7 tiers or something, which we see 7 tier shaped kind of. They're like upside down tiers, maybe if you look at it at the right angle in one of the stone murals. Tiers could also be related to the power source that powers the magic that Link uses. I mean, this title does not give away anything Nintendo. Like it would just lead to more speculation. Like when you told us that Breath of the Wild is named Breath of the Wild, we were all like, oh my gosh, maybe that's referring to the fact that the wild is like alive and Link has to breathe new life into it or something ridiculous. And it really like did nothing to the story other than, no, this is the Breath of the Wild because Hyrule is kind of devoid of life right now. And you're exploring these wilds and getting the breath of it. I don't know.
Yeah. So with every single people were bringing up that every single Zelda subtitle has something to do with the actual core mechanics of the game.
Yes.
However, I will say without the context of actually playing through the games, none of the titles make any sense.
Yeah, except for maybe Ocarina of Time.
I guess so. Yeah. Even then, when I was a kid and like you went back in time, I was like, whoa, he went back in time with the Ocarina of Time. Wow. I guess I was a dumb kid, but
you were
I was
child.
like 5. Give me a break.
It's fine. I give you that break. I allow it.
I couldn't even read at that point.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's a spoiler. I mean, we saw a tear in the trailer last year at E3, though it seemed to be that tear was related to Link flying up into the sky. I don't know. I really don't think it's a spoiler. It has honestly opened up more questions than it answers.
Yeah, which from like a fan perspective, that's how we prefer it to be, right? We don't want the answers yet. We want the answers when we get the game.
Yes.
The reason for the questions is to get us like talking and getting hyped up and excited.
Oh, and I've been getting hyped up and excited and talking about it like all day. Like I cannot stop thinking about some of the things we saw in the trailer.
Which is surprising because it was a very, very short trailer. I think between the 3 trailers at this point, we have a total of 3 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, of gameplay. Because, the very first trailer was like, oh, here are Link and Zelda walking through a cave. And we're like, oh, there's really cool murals on the wall. That's nice. And there was like no gameplay in that trailer. And then the second trailer was like, here's a little teensy bit of gameplay with not as much of that like story stuff. And then this one was like, we're going to show you these murals for 45 seconds and you're going to like it. And then the last 45 seconds are going to be shots of Link like running and then flying in the sky. And that's all you get.
Yeah, I spent way too much time freeze framing the murals and trying to make heads or tails out of it. And all I could get out of it was whoever's like the floating thing that probably is dead, I don't know, is a different person than the princess doing like the hand sign.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there are some like interesting things about the mural. If you combine it, especially with the logo and some of the other things from other trailers, the dragons in the logo are the Zonai dragons. So
are they confirmed to be Zonai? Do we?
They
know?
have the exact same head spiral on them that the Zonai statues do, that are explicitly stated to be Zonai statues in Breath of the Wild.
Okay, so the Zonai dragons you're referring to, those aren't like the spirit dragons that you shoot down in Breath of the Wild, right?
Except that if you look closely in one of the new shots, you can see a dragon flying, and it is a different color than the other 3 dragons.
Okay, and there's a lot of imagery of these dragons doing the Ouroboros thing, which typically is a symbol meaning life, death, and rebirth.
Yep, it's the never-ending cycle. So I imagine that the story for this game is going to cover when the calamity started 1,000 years ago, and it might be about how Zelda and Link are going to break the reincarnation cycle of Ganon.
Oh, that's better than my idea.
Like, I think that's why it's the Ouroboros symbol, and like why the Master Sword has that magical energy in the logo instead of being the full Master Sword.
See, my idea, my really dumb idea, is that this game is simultaneously the end of the timeline and the beginning of the timeline.
They are rebooting Zelda right now.
Yeah, we're just getting a soft reboot next game.
Wait a minute, this seems like the original Legend of Zelda. We're even back to like 2D pixel graphics. That's weird.
Yep. They just do like a reimagining of the first Zelda for the next game, but now like they are talking legends of games like we've already done that are supposed to come.
Oh my gosh, Jordan, you just like unlocked something. Okay, you know how Breath of the Wild seemed to be like a reimagining of the first Legend of Zelda? Like they very clearly made all sorts of things. This game probably is going to pull a lot of inspiration from Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, with like Zelda being captured and used for some magical purpose. The way that we're going to have to actually traverse inside these like kind of crazy ancient city dungeons.
Please.
Like, honestly, I think there might be something to that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's something that we should mark down and be like, David called it if it happens in May. But anyway, I'm so excited for this game, Jordan, and it's coming out in May. Like we have a firm release date, May 12th.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. It's not the March release date that we were hoping for.
No, unfortunately.
I want them to take as much time as they need.
And honestly, May is kind of better for me because that's after the semester ends. So
May 13th?
Yeah.
When does your semester end? That's the end of April?
Good question.
See, as someone who's no longer in school, I don't need to worry about this stuff anymore. Every day sucks for me.
Oh, yeah. So the final day of exams for me is May 13th. So I will have plenty of time.
Ooh.
Or May 3rd. I meant to say 3rd, not 13th.
Okay, I was going to say, that's not going to be a fun like final night before your final test.
That's the last day of finals. Usually my finals are like open and throughout the entire finals week or whatever. But
because it would come out that midnight.
Yeah, whatever. I only have 2 classes as a graduate student, so it's no big deal either way. But
yeah.
No, I'm really excited. I think that post semester is a better timing for Zelda games anyway, especially like Breath of the Wild scale Zelda games. It gives people a lot more time. So
when is Golden Week? Are they jamming Tears of Kingdom to be the Golden Week game? Because Nintendo typically has a Golden Week release.
I am checking. Golden Week in 2023 is May 3rd to May 5th.
So it's missing it.
Yep. Just barely.
I wonder what's going to hit that release window then.
It's a good question. The other question I had, though, is considering that the game is coming out in May, Jordan, there is still enough time between now and May for Nintendo to announce and release the sequel to the Nintendo Switch itself, like the follow-up console. I think it's still possible. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible.
It is definitely possible. So you would think that it would be a May release for the console?
I think so.
It's possible.
The reason why I say that is because there was one particular shot in the trailer where Link is opening the doors, and the lighting that they managed to pull off in that shot does not look like it should be possible on the Switch.
So would it be pre-rendered light though?
That's possible, but it looked like it was in-game engine because right after that, Link started sprinting out of the doors.
Yeah. It's entirely possible that that's the case.
I mean, I know Digital Foundry did an analysis on the last Breath of the Wild trailer, and they were like, there's no way they're running this on current gen Switch hardware. This is either a they built it on the dev kit that has slightly better specs on the internal Nintendo dev kit, or they are prepping this for the Switch successor.
With that in mind, though, if it is going to be a Switch successor game, it's going to be another situation as the original Breath of the Wild.
Oh, easily.
It'll still come out on Switch. I still think that raises a bunch of logistical issues, not issues, but questions.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
because like, let's say that the Switch successor is not backwards compatible, which there's a very good chance that it won't be, just because NVIDIA has changed up their architecture between their Tegra X chips. You would have to then like choose between like the Switch 2 version or the Switch 1 version, right? You couldn't then plug in a Switch version.
Yeah, I mean that's totally possible.
Even I guess it's even like more weird. So like in the case that it is that the successor is backwards compatible, are we releasing the Switch successor with no dedicated Switch 2 game? It would just be Breath of the Wild. Or not Breath of the Wild. Man, it's going to take some like practice.
Oh, I know. Tears of the Kingdom does not flow off of my tongue as well as Breath of the Wild does.
Is it just going to be Tears of the Kingdom being the launch title, but it's not even a Switch 2 game?
It's possible. They did that with Breath of the Wild.
Right, but like when you went to the store to buy Breath of the Wild, you could buy the Switch version.
Yeah.
Like it was very obvious that whichever one you bought, it wouldn't work on the wrong console.
Yeah.
It mechanically would not fit. But with a Switch successor, I don't think it's going to be the case again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm mostly hoping that we get the Switch successor for that release because I want to play it on upgraded hardware. That's my desire. I'm trying to manifest it into existence, and I'm hoping that Nintendo figures out the logistics of how that's going to work.
I'm still kind of just on wait and see mode. Just the chip shortage is in a weird state.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure Nintendo will not do a new console until they can guarantee that it launches at $300 even.
I agree with that.
Now, maybe there is a possibility that they've just waited too long and there's too many games in the pipeline for the successor, and so they just have to pull the trigger. But I don't know. Like it should be coming out. It should have came out this year. Honestly.
Oh, it totally should have. It's been 5 years. The Switch is absolutely showing its age, but they also took their time with the OLED release, and it's getting a little late, honestly.
So it entirely can show up. I'm just kind of
you're skeptical. I get it.
I'm skeptical.
I get it. I mean, I am skeptical too, but my hopes and prayers are that I can play Breath of the Wild 2. Excuse me, Tears of the Kingdom. Man, it's so hard. Play Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch's successor.
I guess my stance really is if Nintendo thinks they can pull it off, they will do it. Because they do want. I'm pretty sure they want to get the successor out as soon as possible, especially since sales for the Switch hardware have been. They're still selling pretty well, but there is a trajectory of like declining sales.
Yes.
Yes. So that's usually the canary in the coal mine that it's time to move on to the next console because your market base has pretty much bought the system at this point.
And you can't just keep releasing special edition Switch OLEDs. Like I'm not buying another one, Nintendo, even though that Scarlet and Violet one looks kind of cool and I like the colors. I'm not buying it. I just bought your Splatoon one. Okay. Even with as little information we got about Tears of the Kingdom in these trailers, there is so much to go through and analyze and look at and theorize about. It makes me so excited to be a Zelda fan again, especially now that we know that it's actually coming with a real release date instead of just maybe 2022. JK, it's not coming out this year, guys. My bad.
Like, I'm not even bothered that we only got like 10, 15 minutes
I know.
of gameplay.
Neither am I. Like I would have loved more, but I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good.
We got the release date and the name drop finally, so it's easy to talk about the game now.
Yep.
And it actually feels like it's a game that's on the horizon rather than just over yonder. It'll be here when we get here.
Yeah. It's another really long gap between mainline Zelda games, though. Even though they said we're going to try to do it like every couple of years. Like, yeah, no, that didn't happen. It's 6 years between Zelda titles.
I am very surprised it took this long. There was definitely a lot of feature creep.
Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, looking at some of the early shots we got of Hyrule, they looked pretty empty and pretty normal compared to like, the original Breath of the Wild landscape. But with this trailer where we got that over like head shot of basically all of Hyrule except for some parts, it looks like there are tons of new things to do. The map has changed significantly. There are islands everywhere in the sky. There are clearly changes to landmarks, and it looks so exciting. Like, I'm excited to explore this version of Hyrule again. It's still not going to be the same as exploring the Breath of the Wild Hyrule for the very first time because, like, they're not just giving us a whole new map, but I'm just so excited. It looks like they've really added a lot of things to keep us busy.
Well, it's still possible that we are getting a whole new map and they just haven't told us yet.
I know, like the thing that really indicates to me that there still might be something very different happening in this game is that we keep seeing two very distinct, I would say, versions of Link. We have Link in his champion's tunic, and then we have long-haired feral Link that is using what looks like ancient weapons every time we see him. Like the more recent one where it's Link with the long hair, he has like an axe that's made out of stone and bone. Like, we haven't seen anything like that in Breath of the Wild. So it makes me wonder if there is like a past element to the game as well. I don't know.
I wonder if it's actually going to be a curveball because of the Boros thing that Caveman Link is actually the future Link.
I mean, that's possible too.
And like technology collapses or something.
Well, that actually might be the case because we know from the tapestry in Breath of the Wild that, well, I wouldn't say no, but it sure did look like Link was wearing the champion's tunic in the ancient tapestry. At least I think. Except that he had long hair in that tapestry as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows? Very excited. Lots of things to talk about and theorize. And we could probably do a whole episode about how excited we are for this and whatnot. And we'll definitely do one of those as we get closer to release. They'll probably end up showing us more footage. I imagine we'll get like some treehouse gameplay, perhaps. Well, maybe not, but we're definitely getting at least one more trailer before the game launches.
At this point, we've gone so long with no information. I don't need any information.
True. Very true.
These little like trailers where they're just like, we're just showing you random hieroglyphics and 10 seconds of gameplay. That works fine for me right now. As long as they just keep like letting me know that the game's still moving along. Unlike a certain game that didn't show up to this direct.
Yeah.
Where was Prime 4?
At this point, Prime 4 is going to be on the next Nintendo console.
I am getting legitimately concerned now. So like we had the tease from Retro at the beginning of the year of like they updated their Twitter picture or whatever. And everyone's like, oh, it has to be a hint that Prime 4 news is coming. And we got none.
Yep. Nope.
And there's the only time slot for the rest of this year that a Prime 4 can show up in is at the Game Awards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm penciling it in that Prime 4 is missing this year. Either they're holding it out to be like the holiday release game for the next console or even the launch title for the successor of the Switch. Or I'm getting kind of concerned about the development of the game. Those are my options at this point.
We do know that much of the original Prime team is no longer at Retro, so that might be one of the problems, but I sure do hope things are going well there. We love Metroid too much for, the series to really crash and burn and them have to cancel everything. Plus, we haven't seen anything that Retro's done in a very long time. The last thing we got from Retro was like DK Tropical Freeze with Funky Kong. So
that was so long ago.
It was a very long time ago.
Even just a teaser. Like I was so sure we were going to get a teaser this year at E3 and we're still nothing.
Yeah,
just
this
nothing.
Direct would have been a great time to remind us that it's coming too.
They could have opened with that instead of Colgate. Like,
yeah, They coulda. A cold opening with Prime 4 just being like, hey, it's still coming, guys, without a Switch logo in front of it, but like a shot of Samus or Samus's ship or something.
Well, they could have just like done a teaser trailer with, I don't know, the scene that is in the Twitter picture for Retro.
Oh, yeah, they totally
where
could have
she's
done
just
that.
in the hangar and then just like quickly turns around because there's like an ominous shadow and there's just like Metroid Prime 4 eventually.
2025. No, I hope it doesn't come that late. But
I just want something to just say like it's still in the works. It hasn't
especially
been
with how
canceled.
successful Dread was.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'd expect them to be like, yeah, no, Metroid is still coming along, guys. Like, please don't be worried about it. But we are worried, Nintendo, because you haven't shown us anything.
So at this point, it's got to just be like a Switch 2 game. And that's why we haven't seen anything, because they don't want people like me who are like eyeing every single trailer they release, waiting for the Switch title to not show up on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the reason why we're not getting Prime 4 news.
Yes, you are. They've been listening to this podcast and they know all of your tricks.
Anyway, I think that does it for me for the Direct.
We typically rate our directs, right? You know, out of 10.
Oh,
like,
yes.
What would you rate this direct? I'll let you go first.
I think it was a great Direct. Especially like we just spent an hour and a half with this.
Yeah.
It felt pretty meaty. It wasn't like going in last week. I was basically saying, oh, it's just going to be ports. And then also privately, I was saying they'll probably do like a 2D Mario game that's basically New Super Mario Bros. Switch. And it's just like even more bland than the Wii U game or but we got none of that. We got actual stuff. Pikmin 4 really, really sold it for me.
I know. I think you blacked out for a few minutes after that one came out, right?
Yeah. I was in disbelief at this point. Like I had completely given up with the game. Like it's been 7 years since it was told that it's soon.
Close to development. Yeah. So what would you rate it then? The Direct out of 10?
A 9.
Okay.
I give it a 9.
That's exactly what I was going to rate it to. Super meaty Direct. We got Zelda and Pikmin. The confirmation that a new Fire Emblem is out, which I still think Fire Emblem will be fun. I just am very cautious about this new one. And I don't know, lots of really cool things to look forward to, lots of great DLC topics, lots of great ports, and lots of, just great things coming out to Switch in general. The only thing that would have made it a perfect 10 is if we got a Metroid Prime 4 teaser.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Metroid Prime 4 would have taken it to a 20.
Jordan giving something 200%? That's nuts.
You don't understand how starved I am for Prime 4 at this point.
I get you. Well, anyway, so that's our rating. We both give it a 9 out of 10 for a Direct, which is weird. Like people are probably like, why do you rate Nintendo Directs? Like, because we've had some really bad ones in the past. Okay, just because you weren't around in the Wii U era doesn't mean that Directs can't be bad.
Oh, the Wii U era, when the Splatfest announcement was the best part of the Direct.
And it was like, do you like spicy food or sweet food or something?
Oh man.
I mean, there was a Splatfest announcement for this one, which was fine. Like,
yeah. We'll talk about it in the Splatoon.
Yeah.
I don't have like a gauge for Splatfest yet because I haven't played one yet.
Yeah.
With this game. So
we'll talk about that soon. Probably in a couple weeks here. But anyway, I guess that's going to do it for us. Unless you have any final words, Jordan.
No, I think I'm good.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for listening to this nice long podcast episode about the September 2022 Nintendo Direct, where we got lots of great stuff. If you want to talk about the Direct or what you're really excited about, come on over to our Discord server by going to nintenfusion.com/Discord. That'll get you an invite and beam you right into the Discord server. Also, if you like the show, please be sure to give us a like on YouTube or give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcatcher you use. Doing so will tell the algorithm that you like the show and help other people like you find us so that we can have, great conversations and whatnot. But with all that said, I think that's pretty much it for this week's episode of the NintenFusion podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
See ya.